Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Ellie. I also go by Ellie Ruby on Twitch, and I am a part-time hobby Twitch streamer that focuses on gaming, as you can see by my headset. If you're brand new here, thanks for being here. Obviously a small channel, so if this video interests you, definitely like and subscribe or even drop a comment if what you see surprises you. As a small streamer, I have been curious about different financials that folks have. For example, what other people are earning, what is realistic on this app, and just where people line up with something like less than 300 followers. I have been streaming consistently. I stream 1 to 2 days a week since the beginning of the year. I work full time. That is my primary focus. So this is 100% as a hobby. So if you're expecting money that would be like a full time income, hop out now because that is not what we're looking at here. I'm going to go by month, just showing you what I earned, what kind of growth that I had, and you're more than welcome to skip to the end if you would just like to see the total amount. But for now, if you want to see the full progress, we are starting with January. From January 1st to the 31st of this month, I made $7.43. That is primarily coming from subscriptions as well as some cheering, a dollar worth of cheering. And this is with about 24 hours streamed. I was on my grind, 4 minutes of ads per hour, and about an hour and 42 minutes overall of those ad breaks. Hopping now into February. This was a big month of growth. This was also only about 6 hours streamed. I took several weeks off for some personal business. Only about 33 minutes of ad breaks total. Didn't get any subs, all of the revenue. So a full $1.20 was just based on the ads that were playing before my streams. And at this point, the growth was not too heavy. So, nothing crazy in terms of viewership. I do also want to point out in terms of engagement, and if I go all the way back to the beginning of the year with these February dates, you can see here I only streamed total 2 times. I had an average of 3.7 viewers and less followers gained that month. This was in total not a crazy amount of followers. So, that is leading to the earnings that I was making there. Next up, focusing on March. March, we made a total of $25.16, massive growth compared to the month beforehand. This was primarily due to about 7 different subs. I also streamed 12 hours more, so I had a lot more ad time, as well as just time being able to engage with my community and connect with other people. Now, looking at April, very good growth. This was probably one of my best months, partially due to a very large day of gifted subs. I made about $29 for an overall stream, jumped up to about 28 subscriptions for this month. Very engaged community, streamed about the same amount as the month before, even had less ad time running per hour. Personally, I don't prefer running ads. I don't do the recommended Twitch amount. I definitely am below that because for me, I think getting folks to actually get into your stream and engage with you is a much better and more significant part of what you can do with your day. This is when I really started asking around to identify those Prime subs. So if I had friends who had Amazon Prime, I would say, hey, if you want to drop that my way, you know what I mean? You could pull up. If you are curious about the engagement I had in April, significantly more progress comparing back to January. This month I had an average of 7.5 viewers. I had 42 followers just in this one specific month, as well as 7,500 minutes watched, which is really good numbers for me, especially considering I had only 5 streams during this period. You'll also notice that each of my streams takes place on Tuesday. For a majority of the year, I was only streaming on Tuesday. It was later on in the month where I started doing Tuesday and Sunday streams. But for this time, this was great revenue for the amount of time that I was putting in. So I was pretty happy with the earnings and the fact that I was getting supported during that month. Next up for the month of May, we are still back in that $20 range, getting consistent with those Amazon Prime sales. Still had a couple of paid subs coming through, a little bit less time streamed this month, as well as less time overall in the ad breaks that I was taking. Nothing too crazy, pretty standard month for me. Definitely not as high as April was, but still showing good progress and growing in terms of engaged viewership. Here is the month of June. Doubled the revenue from the previous month. Once again, also due to a very large day of gifted subs. So thank you to all of the folks in my community who have supported me in this way or even supported people just not having to watch ads in my stream. In this instance, it was a little bit more time that was being streamed. You'll also notice that the money was kind of spread out onto various days. So there were some times when people's subscriptions were getting renewed off of my normal stream schedule. This is also leaning more towards when I started streaming on Sundays. I started playing Expedition 33. You can find several shorts as well as the kind of first episode of multiple different parts of me playing the game, but that definitely did contribute to helping me grow as we got closer to those summer months. Now, speaking of those summer months, July matched about the same for June of the previous year, around $40 gained on significantly more ads in this instance, as well as significantly more time streamed. You'll notice that I was playing on Sundays in this case, as well as my typical Tuesday, and sometimes those ads or those prime subs would come through the day after. Part of this was folks who were watching my VODs. Part of this was just going into general times where folks were just invested and watching things on their own time. So, very happy to see this. And on the engagement side, this is what engagement looked like in July. I had about 8,500 minutes watched, almost 8,600. Still decent viewership for me, above 5. For a less than 300 person stream, that is pretty good, and I'm proud of that value. You can see I had a still good chunk amount of follows for that month. And then you can see here that minutes were being watched on various different days, depending on when those VODs were being viewed. But at this point, I was streaming more like Tuesday and Sunday consistently as I was getting through Expedition 33. And this brings us to August. We're coming into the most recent month. I won't have a ton of data on September since that value will just not be available. But in this instance, around $23.70 for the entire month of August, a little bit less time streamed than the month previous, as well as still 9 subscriptions, which is pretty decent for my size. What this means is if you are curious about the total amount that I have made, comparing August 31st all the way back to January 2025, I've made $241.40. That is from 82 subscriptions, about 8 hours of ad breaks, which isn't too bad, and 141 hours streamed. What I really want to emphasize to you all is that if you decide to start streaming, you are not going to be making the amounts that you might see flaunted online. Being a small streamer has some amazing benefits in terms of the people that you connect with and the games that you get to experience with others. That said, this is a hobby. I'm happy that I made any money from video games in general. I have so much appreciation for the folks that have supported my streaming and supported my ability to kind of share my experiences gaming with you all. I do also want to call out I don't have a donations box on Twitch. I don't feel the need to ask for donos since bills are paid for and this is just my hobby. But if you are curious, do please check out my Twitch. That said, that is the total amount that I made for the year so far in 2025. If you like this content, please give it a like or subscribe as I'm working to get YouTube partner. And if you haven't already, check out my Twitch. Leave a comment if you have any questions that I can clarify for you. And if you're someone who's working on becoming an up and coming Twitch streamer, don't focus on the money. I do encourage you to do your best and to really focus on building a community of people that support you and the content that you make more than the money that you might be trying to get. Thank you again to everyone who has contributed to this revenue for the year. It's insane to me that I made any money playing video games, and I hope y'all find some good, valuable information from this and maybe get inspired to try something out, whether it's streaming or a different creative hobby on your own. All right. Bye, everyone, and take care.